Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's your boy, Delightful Kissboy, and today I just want to yap about video games. Games I've liked over the years, games that I've grown to maybe not like as much, you know, that sort of thing. I just felt like doing this because I just got back from vacation, went to Hawaii with some friends and had a good time, and we were just chilling, and so I'm kind of, you know, still in the island mindset, you know what I'm talking about, and so... You know, I just wanted to just yap, you know, why not? Who cares? I don't care if people watch this or not, but I have a good time recording these videos. They're just chill. You know, it's almost like journaling, you know, a little audio journaling, but I get a little bit of feedback from people in the comments and get to see what you all are interested in too. You know, it's a good time. It's a good time. I'm not under the illusion, you know, that these are going to pop off or anything, but these are for me, you know, just fun. It's fun. So anyway, yeah, let's take it from the top. The first video game console that I got was when I was like, I think I was like 4 years old, because I have an older sister, right? And so she was like 5.5 or something like that when I was like 4. You know, maybe 6 or some shit, I don't fucking know. But we got a Game Boy Color, alright? Got the light blue version, baby. And I think the first game that I ever got was Pokemon Yellow. Because my sister and I shared that game, so we'd basically like take turns playing it. And so that was a good time, although we had some disagreements. Because we had like a level 89 Hypno, that was like our best Pokemon. Excuse me, and I took it to the nickname dude, and got him nicknamed Danger with an exclamation point. And my sister was so pissed, because she didn't know how to change it. I don't even know if you could in that game, like once you set it, I'm not sure if you could like change it again, but even if you could, I would not tell her how I changed the name, and because I thought Danger was sick, you know, especially with the exclamation point, but she was like mad, you know, because she did not want our best Pokemon to be named Danger, you know, but it was a good time, it was a good time. I hardly knew what was going on in the game when we were playing it until I was like a little bit older, but that kind of, you know, kicked off my love for the Pokemon games. They were a lot of fun as a kid. I would bring the, you know, consoles, like, I ended up buying, you know, getting as gifts, Pokemon games from, like, you know, so Yellow, and then we got, like, Silver and Gold, because, after that point, my mom was like, okay, I should probably buy them each their own fucking copies, so they don't squabble over shit like this again, you know? So I would usually get like the fire related ones. Like it was like gold, I got gold, my sister got silver, and then I think after that it was ruby and sapphire. So I got excuse me, I got ruby, my sister got sapphire, and then I think that was kind of when we kind of fell off, was after ruby and sapphire. I'm trying to remember. There might have been one more. Oh yeah, we got diamond and whatever the other one was. Diamond and I can't remember, dude, but I got the one that wasn't diamond. I don't remember it. Oh, pearl, diamond and pearl, and then we kind of stopped. I kind of stopped. I was like, okay, I kind of get the idea. But I used to love those because I'd bring them to like my sister's, you know, like sports games and shit like that, and then you know, while she was off doing impressive things, I would be playing my Pokemon game. You know, that was always a good time. But yeah, so Pokemon was one of my, you know, fave series for a while when I was a pretty young little boy, and I'm trying to think of other shit that I liked. I liked, as far as like the mobile gaming went, I also liked, there's like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game Boy Advance game. I was into Yu-Gi-Oh! At the time a little bit. I wasn't very good at it or anything, and I didn't really like buy that many cards, but I liked playing the video games, and so there was like Dark Duel Stories or some shit for Game Boy Advance. There was also one for Game Boy, but it was really weird. I remember like you could make these weird custom cards and shit. So I like the Game Boy Advance one better because that one just kind of made more sense to me. But yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. But at the same time, we also had like a Nintendo 64 when I was growing up. We got that at some point because we went to like our neighbor's house. There was like a kid who was around our age that we would go over there and, you know, hang out sometimes. And they had a Nintendo 64, and so we were like, oh shit, N64 is dope. And so eventually, yeah, we ended up getting like a Nintendo 64 as a joint gift for Christmas. And that was awesome because I loved Super Mario 64, baby. That was an incredible game. Awesome game, awesome game. Loved that one. Loved Super Smash Bros, of course. That was my shit. And Paper Mario. Paper Mario was a banger. That game still holds up, dude. I went back and played it. Played a little bit of it, at least, as an adult. Also, by the way, there is an exploitable gambling game in Paper Mario, which I have exploited as an adult. I was like, oh shit, positive EV? Hell yeah, buddy, I got infinite coins to, like, couldn't you, like, buy oinks or some shit? That's what you'd spend your money on in that game? Anyway, good times, good times. But I was like, I have an infinite amount of money. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. Loved that game as a kid. So those were some of my faves from the N64 era. I'm trying to think, there's probably some other ones that I'm leaving off the list. Like there's this, I liked Glover a lot as a kid, but for some reason the game would get like corrupted a lot. Like I got to a certain point and was like killing it. It was like close to the end, and then my game got corrupted when I was a child, and then I like cried. Because that game was hard, dude. It was like you had to roll a fucking ball around as a glove, and like, it took me a long time to get to that point. And then, you know, then it was all for naught. Oh, actually, no, okay, some other games that were like faves from the time. Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie were bangers, dude. My sister was like way more into those than I was, but I still liked them. And also Donkey Kong 64. Now, Donkey Kong 64, I loved it as a kid. It was really hard at certain points, but overall, it was a good game. It's just like, it had too many collectibles, dude. Like, if you go back and play that as an adult, just like, I have to collect so many fucking things. Like, they really took the collectathon, like, and just bumped it up to the nth degree. And so, I don't know, I don't think I'd enjoy it as much as I did as a kid if I played it again as an adult. Oh, dude, okay, sorry, I'm just remembering. These games are coming back to me now. Diddy Kong Racing, bro? Diddy Kong Racing, bro? That game was so sick. Like, my sister and I don't know why, but we had this, like, fun thing that we would like to do. Well, it was fun for us at the time, where we would cover the TV with a blanket. And one of us would be playing Diddy Kong Racing, and one of us would, like, be up right in front of the TV with the blanket over our heads so they could see, but then the person who was driving wouldn't be able to see what was going on, and then the other person would have to, like, narrate what was happening and tell the other person, like, how to steer so that we could try to win the race. And we were never successful, and I don't know why we would do that, but I remember it being fun. But we just do a bunch of dumb shit like that all the time growing up. It was a good time. But yeah, Diddy Kong Racing was sick. I liked that one. I liked that better than Mario Kart at the time. But in any case, good shit, good shit. Moving on to the GameCube, because at a certain point we upgraded our game to the GameCube, baby. We were Nintendo fans through and through, BT dubs. And I remember I absolutely loved Super Mario Sunshine. Just the whole vibe of that game, like, that game was so much fun to just fuck around in. You know, you just kind of go around and just, like, spray people with water. And for some reason, that shit was awesome to me as a kid. I had so much fun. The summer vibes, it was a good vibe. It was a great vibe for two reasons, too. It was the summer vibes, but also, I got that game for Christmas, and I remember, like, playing the shit out of it on Christmas, so I had, like, double the good vibes going, because I associated the game with Christmas, but it was a summer game. So it was just like, hell yeah, dude, good vibes all around. Love that game. Oh shit, I forgot to mention, like, there's too many games to keep track of here. Before we even got the consoles, though, my parents, so they kind of played some games. Like, my mom was into the LucasArts adventure games, like point-and-click adventures and stuff. And sometimes I would play those games with, like, her growing up, which was a fun time. But we'd like, rent... You could, like, rent computer games from the library, some of them. But they were usually, like, point-and-click adventure games. And so that's what we would do, is we'd, like, go to the library and get these adventure games and come back. And then, like, my mom and I would play them or whatever. So we get these, like, Nancy Drew games and shit, dude. I'll admit it, I was a Nancy Drew fan. Hell yeah, dude. Those games were sick. But we also played like the LucasArts games, like The Dig, and the Curse, like the Monkey Island games. Those were awesome. So, you know, so there's kind of a precedent set already, and so they got us the humongous entertainment games like Putt Putt and fucking, so, you know, Fatty Bear and Spy Fox, Pajama Sam, dude. You know, like the Afraid of the Dark one. That one was sick, man. Good shit, good shit. But anyway, we're skipping around, Let's get back to the GameCube, alright? This is the good stuff, So, Super Mario Sunshine, sick. Luigi's Mansion, fucking sick, dude. I love the vibes of that game. It was a little spooky for me as a kid, but I grew up watching Courage the Cowardly Dog, and so I was into a little bit of spookiness, you know? The first Luigi's Mansion actually had some, like, creepy vibes to it. It was just, like, very, you know, like this empty mansion. You know, it's very quiet, I remember it being, and it was awesome, man. That game was sick. So, we had those ones. Those were some faves. I also, I don't know why, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a game called Cell Damage for the GameCube. And it was kind of like Twisted Metal, but, like, not as, you know, like, grotesque. Because my parents, like, my mom didn't want us playing, like, mature games when we were, like, teenagers and shit, like kids or teenagers. And so she would get us, like, E and T games, but I couldn't play mature games unless there was, like, an exception made or something like that. And so, could not play Twisted Metal growing up, but instead I got Cell Damage, which was kind of like cartoony Twisted Metal, and I remember I'd play that one a lot. I had a fun time. I would always play as, there's this little motherfucker called Cinder, and he was like a little devil guy, and I would just like shred people up in this fucking, like, it was like a wood shredder or something like that, wood chipper. But anyway, good game. I think those are like my three big ones. I also, you know, there's some other games that I played as well. Like, I liked Beautiful Joe a good amount. That was a banger of a game. I don't think I ever finished it though, so I don't think I can like list it as one of my faves, but it was fun. Like the weird slow motion mechanics were good. I don't know, there were some other GameCube games that I probably liked. I remember like my uncle got me Tales of Symphonia, but I didn't really get JRPGs. I didn't grow up playing JRPGs. And so like I remember like as a kid, it really mattered to me being able to see the appearance of my character change when I got new loot in an RPG game, for some reason. And so like Tales of Symphonia, I was having fun with it until I realized that my guy would always look the same, and that really pissed me off, and then I stopped playing it, even though it was a good game. But never finished that one. I'd like to go back and play that game, because it's supposed to be pretty good. But the reason that I was accustomed to that kind of thing is because my dad had bought, like, Dark Alliance 3, like Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance 2? No, 2, yeah, Dark Alliance 2, I think. Or maybe it was just Dark Alliance. I can't remember. Whatever, I think it was Dark Alliance, okay? And it's this one where it's like you can play as like a dwarf dude, a human fighter, or like a elf sorceress, or some shit. And I remember I wanted to play that game so bad. My parents wouldn't let me because it was too violent. But for some reason, they would like let me watch them play it. I just couldn't play it myself for some reason. I say they, it was just my dad playing it. But I loved that game. Eventually, I got to play it. And I thought it was so much fun. It was like, you know, a hack and slash kind of dungeon crawler game. But you get all this loot and you'd like equip the new loot and it would look sick on your guy, and I was like, hell yeah. And so I wanted to always my characters in RPG games to look progressively sicker and sicker, you know, which kind of leads me to one of my favorite games for a long time, still among my favorites, more for nostalgia reasons, but it still holds up in a lot of ways, and mechanically sometimes it doesn't hold up so well, but it was Morrowind. So I had heard about Morrowind from like one of my cousins. It was like my older cousin who was like really into all these different you know, RPG kind of games. He was into like Dungeons and Dragons and shit. And so I'd heard him talking about Daggerfall and Morrowind. And so I was really curious. And then my uncle got Morrowind. So I tried it at his place. And I didn't really get it at the beginning. Because, like, so if you played Morrowind, it's like, or if you haven't played Morrowind, I guess I should say, all of the combat, it's like real time, but it's based on, like, dice rolls. So, like, you kind of go up to shit and you can stab it, but then, like, you won't hit it, even if you're, like, directly hitting them in the face. You know, so it'll, like, look like you're stabbing them in the face, but it'll make, like, a whiffing noise. Because it's based on dice rolls and stuff. And I didn't really understand what was going on exactly, and I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing a lot of the time, because, like, in Morrowind, you have to just kind of, like, read all this shit. There's a bunch of dialogue, but it's not, like, voice acted. There's no quest markers. You know, you go into your journal. I didn't really know how to, like, look in my journal. And so I just had no idea what the fuck was going on. But I was so desperate. Like, I was not desperate, but I really wanted to get into it because I loved the idea of, like, a big sandbox exploration RPG. That sounded amazing to me. And so I kept at it, and then eventually I started to understand it. And then I was able to play it for, like, the summer. So, like, my uncle lived with my grandparents at the time. My grandparents would watch me for the summer. And so I would just, like, go down in the basement and just fucking play Morrowind all day, baby. But yeah, my sister and I would get babysat by my grandparents because, like, my parents had to work, you know? And so summer vacation, all of a sudden, you know, oh, there's no more school. And so they'd be working and we'd be at our grandparents' house. But it was awesome. I was like, hell yeah, brother. And I got super into Morrowind. And one of my friends at school had also gotten really into Morrowind. That's actually how he and I ended up meeting, was our shared love of Morrowind. And so he would tell me about this wacky stuff that he found. I'd be like, no way, dude. And he'd be like, oh yeah, dude, there's a talking mud crab that you can sell a bunch of shit to, you know? And I was like, oh man, that's fucking sick, man. And then I would, like, you know, tell him about the shit that I found. He had the strategy guide, so he kind of knew more than me most of the time. But we loved that game, and we would talk about it all the time. Super fun, just like going around and collecting stuff. I mean, that was the thing about Morrowind, is like, there were so many unique items in the game, and it would just be fun to, like, collect them and, like, display them in a house. And the house I would always use is I wouldn't, like, wait to get a house from, like, you know, there were certain ways you could get a house built for you in the game, but I would just, like, go somewhere and murder somebody and just use their house as my own. It was awesome. Like, so in Balmora, one of the main towns, I would just go to the Nerano Manor and I just murder the guy and then just steal his house and be like, this is my house now. And so, yeah, then we would display everything there, and we would always be, like, competing to have the more dope house. So I'd say that was kind of, like, definitively my favorite game for a really long time. Like, I was like, Morrowind is the sickest game when I was, like, I think, yeah, I was between, like, 4th and, like, 7th grade. I was super into Morrowind. I still love that game. Great game. Check it out. But, you know, then eventually Oblivion came out, and I did not have a 360. My friend did. The same friend who loved Morrowind. And so I was super jealous. I was like, what? I can't play Oblivion? Because also, like, my parents' computer sucked ass, by the way. It had, like, an integrated graphics card that was, like, terrible and was not meant for, like, gaming anything above, like, Age of Empires 2. But I still ended up getting Oblivion. And I remember I played the shit out of that. But, like, a lot of my time spent, quote-unquote, playing Oblivion was just downloading mods for the game. Because we had a slow-ass internet connection. We did not have high-speed internet. But I got it for, like, computer. And I would download all these mods to make it look worse, so they could actually, like, run at a bearable pace on our shitty-ass computer. I remember I had to turn the render distance, like, all the way down. So it's like you're just kind of wandering through a blue void of, like, mist. And it looked awful, but I was determined to play this game because I thought it was so cool, right? I mean, eventually I kind of started to not like the leveling systems in that game. Because, like, so, just for context, between Morrowind and Oblivion, Morrowind was all kind of static. It's like you enter this world, there's certain things that are leveled to you, but, like, they're in the minority of things. Like, it's kind of like you're entering a static world and you're exploring it. And so it feels like everything isn't, like, based around you. Conversely, with Oblivion, everything is, like, you know, leveled to you. So as soon as you get to your highest levels, all of the bandits are going to be, like, demigods, you know, to keep the game challenging, which I thought was kind of lame, you know, even as a youngster. But what I loved about it was I could mod the shit out of it. So I download, you know, gigabytes and gigabytes of mods, which at the time would take forever to download. And so at the time, you know, just kind of waiting for these mods to download, I got very into Minesweeper. So I picked that up as a hobby and I got like really good at it. And so I would just basically start these giant mod packs downloading, because I would get like these overhaul mods. Like there's one called like FCOM at the time, which was like kind of the unification of these 3 different giant mods. I'm remembering 2 of them. There was like Martigan's Monster mod, and then there was Oscuro's Oblivion Overhaul, and there was like one more that I can't remember. But I mean, it had like a bunch of other minor mods integrated. So you had to basically download all of the individual giant mods, and then you had to download FCOM on top of that. And then you had to, like, you know, set them up in the mod load order and shit, and then it would work. And so it would take forever to download all this stuff. And so, yeah, I would just play Minesweeper while I waited, basically. Listen to music and play Minesweeper. And got really good at it. And I've had a love for Minesweeper ever since. You know, I play, excuse me, when I'm particularly in a bad place, I'll play some 4D Minesweeper. Absolutely, buddy. But that kind of kickstarted my love of, like, logic puzzles, though, is what I would say. But the other thing that was cool about downloading all the mods for, like, Oblivion was that's kind of what taught me about how computers worked, like, fundamentally. You know, more like operating systems, I should say. But it kind of got me interested in, like, computers, game development, all that shit, because I was like, I wanted to learn how to make these mods as well. I never ultimately really did at the time, you know? But it was like, you know, I'm downloading all these files, I'm learning about, like, mirrors, you know, where I'm, you know, downloading these things from. So I learned all these different, you know, okay, there are these different servers hosting these different files that I need. I get the files, I unpack the files that are compressed, you know, and I'm putting these files into specific directories on my computer, and it's like, okay, these are being read by the executables. And so I was like learning about how that process worked, you know, from front to back. And I'm like, okay, there are these types of files with, like, resource files that the games are reading, and these are scripts, and, you know, yada yada yada, and there's certain constraints that the game engine has, you know, or the modding tools available, and so people are able to write these script extenders. And so I was getting, like, an understanding of how all this shit worked. And that's what kind of sparked my interest initially in computers as a whole. And so people, I don't know, people who say, like, oh, it's a waste of time for kids to be playing video games, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I learned a lot about various things from my interest in video games, especially when I was playing them on the computer, is what I would say. And I mean, people use it like all sorts. I'm on my soapbox right now. All right, give me a sec though. But I mean, I think it's really cool when people teach kids how to code through video games. Like, for example, like, you know, a lot of kids love Minecraft, they love Roblox, and it's like, okay, well, having, you know, coding lessons in those games that show you how to make cool shit, that makes perfect sense to me. It's like, that's kind of the way to get these kids interested. It certainly would have worked for me, you know? And so that was kind of the thing. It was like, okay, well, I love Oblivion, I love modding it, and so I just wanted to learn more about it naturally because I was interested in it, you know? Anyway, soapbox over. Love playing Oblivion. At the time, I was also into World of Warcraft, but it was, like, expensive. Because, like, my parents wouldn't, like, pay for that shit. So I had to like do like rustle up some cash and basically pay the monthly fee myself if I wanted to play World of Warcraft, which I did because one of my friends would always be telling me about how cool it was. And so I'd play a little bit of it, and I'd get like a character up to like level, like I usually get to about 40 or 45, and then I would run out of money, and then I would stop being able to play, and then I would get more money later, but by the time I did that, I was like, I want to make a new character, and so I'd make a new character and get them up to like 40 or 45 and then stop playing. And it was kind of that cycle, so I never really got to the late game content, but I would just kind of like, you know, dabble in it. And I always thought it was really cool because like you could play, you know, with all these different people online, you know, and I thought that was sick. I remember it was really awkward. Oh man, this was hilarious. I mean, at the time it wasn't as funny to me, but like looking back on it, I'm like, holy shit, dude. It's so funny to me. So when I was like, when I was playing World of Warcraft, I was like 12, okay? Like literally like an 11 or 12-year-old playing these games, right? And so but like, I would type, for some reason when I was a kid, I was very into typing everything like grammatically correctly with like correct punctuation and shit. I don't know why. Like I'm not a stickler about that at all now, but I was a little smart-ass kid at the time. And so I would always type things like properly, spelled correctly, you know, uppercase, and then, you know, punctuation and everything, you know, pretty much good, right? I don't know why. But so, I don't know, I'd play these games, and I remember there was this guy, so I was like an undead priest, was the character that I had rolled this one time. And there was a guy at the beginning of the game who just kind of started talking to me, and we ended up like hanging out a lot in the game and like going off and doing quests or whatever. And I would kind of keep my shit brief or whatever, but you know, I'd type it out and I'd just be like, oh, hey man, how's it going? And so we ended up like doing all these quests together, spending a good amount of time playing this game. And you know, I had no idea who the hell this guy was, but it would be like, you know, we added each other as friends, and then when I'd log on, he'd be like, hey man, you want to like go and do this fucking dungeon? I'd be like, hell yeah, dude, let's go. And so we played a lot, and we chatted, and at a certain point he started like sharing more about his life with me, and it like turned out that this guy was like a like a dude in his like 20s or 30s who had like a kid. And like, you know, he was talking to me, he's like, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, he's talking about, oh yeah, I had to drop my kid off at school, but now I can play, and yada, yada, yada. He's like, hey, you have any kids, man? And I just told him, like, I'm 12. And like, at the time, I didn't think it was weird, you know, because I was just like, oh yeah, you know, I'm hanging out. And then I remember he like didn't reply, and then he just ghosted me. And I was like, I don't know, why did he leave? You know, why did he leave? But like, as an adult, I was like, holy shit. That would be so awkward for the other dude. You spend like, it was like literally like a month straight playing with this dude, and it's like you find out that the person that you've been playing with this entire time and like bonding with is 12 years old. Like, holy shit, dude. That's fucking hilarious, man. Good times. But yeah, I mean, probably for the best that when he found that out, he just dipped. But man, that was crazy. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, I do that a lot. Around when I was in middle school, I wanted to play more multiplayer games, because like all the way up until that point, I'd only played really single player games or like local co-op games that I'd play with like my sister or friends when they were over and stuff like that. But then, you know, I got to 7th grade and people were playing over Xbox Live and shit, right? And so I was like, okay, well, I want to join in on the crowd, but like, I couldn't afford a new like console, and so I had to save up. So I did yard work all summer to save up enough money to buy an Xbox 360, and I was so stoked when I did. I was like, hell yeah. So I bought this like 360, spent all summer doing yard work, got the money. It was like 300 something bucks at the time, and it came with the orange box. And so I played the shit out of Half-Life 2. I loved that, because one of the things that I loved, I should have mentioned this with Oblivion. The thing that like was hooking me was like the physics in these games, because I'd been playing like Morrowind, and there's like barely any physics going on in those games. There's basically like jump physics, and that's about it. But like all of the items in the game are like static, you know? You put them down, they're immovable, okay? When you get to like Oblivion, things were like movable, and that was mind-blowing to me at the time. I was like, holy shit, there's all this physics going on. This is awesome, because like I just became like fascinated with physics simulation, right? And so Half-Life 2 was awesome to me for that reason. It had the gravity gun, you know, and the supercharged gravity gun, and just like, I was like, this is amazing. This is like incredible stuff. I played a little bit of Team Fortress 2, at the beginning it took me a bit to get into Xbox Live, because I had to basically like ask for it for Christmas, and then that would kind of be my present, was like, you know, a year's worth of Xbox Live, and then I could play with my friends, and I could play like Team Fortress 2 and shit like that. And so I never really got super into Team Fortress 2, because most of my friends at the time were into Halo 3, by the way. And Halo 3, that was my jam in middle school. I'm getting ahead of myself here, I'm kind of jumping around, but Halo 3, my god, I loved that game so much. I loved the Forge mode. We'd play all the time. I'd play with my buddies. They'd make like these custom maps, and we'd play them. And like that I played basically what I would do in middle school would be go to school, you know, come back home, get on Xbox Live with my buds, and play like Halo 3 like all night. It was amazing. I loved that shit. And we would do like, you know, co-op to beat the campaign, right? And we do all these different challenges and shit like that. And we'd, you know, play all these custom games. Lots of fun. I like to just play, like, fuck around in Forge mode with my friends. Like, one of my good buds and I, we would just do this thing where, like, one of us would be the monitor, the person who can, like, place things, and one of us would play as a player. And, like, it would just be, we'd take turns being the monitor, trying to hunt down and crush the other person with various objects. I don't know why. We had a good time with it. But, yeah, that was my jam for the longest time on the 360. But there were some other titles that I enjoyed, too, like some miscellaneous ones. Like, I really liked Red Faction Guerrilla, because you could just break everything. Once again, you know, I was obsessed with, like, physics-based games. And this game where it's like, I can just go in and break everything was awesome to me. Even though, like, the building collapsing shit was a little bit janky in that game. But it was still, like, super fun to me. There were some other cool games and stuff. But, like, really the 360... except for, like, the Switch, was, like, the last console that I really got. And I still have it. One of my friends gave me his PS4 recently, so I've acquired that for free. But, in any case, the only reason I wanted the PS4, by the way, was so I could play Bloodborne, which, I should be getting soon at some point. Getting ahead of myself, but, you know, played some different games for the 360, but the main standouts for me were Halo 3, a little bit of Red Faction Guerrilla. I'm trying to think, there was probably some other games for the 360 that I had a good time with too, that I'm just blanking on right now. I mean, Half-Life 2, obviously, the dope game right there, the dopest. But speaking of Half-Life 2, though, at some point I learned about Gary's Mod, and, you know, talking about physics simulations, of course, I had to play Gary's Mod. Man, I love that one too. And I love to just go on people's servers and, like, fuck around. This was, like, when I was about, I'd say, like, in 8th grade, between 8th and 9th grade. And so I was, like, a teenager. But I had, like, roughly this voice back then, and so I just liked fucking with people. Like, I just join these different servers, and I would be like 14 or 15. I would just sound like a, you know, a man in his 20s. Of course, I was, like, still awkward, you know, because I'm, like, 14 years old. But I would just, like, yell at people and shit. But what the fuck are you doing, bitch? You know, like, things like, I would just yell at people and try to scare them and stuff. And I just thought it was very fun, you know. But I would do that. I would join, like, certain... I would always do the city RP servers, but I would always just play as, like, a hobo. Because I didn't really know how to get money in the game, you know? I would fuck around and I'd go into sandbox mode and play around with the physics, you know. I love the man hack gun. I would just, like, what I like to do is I like to make like these monsters out of man hacks and stuff. So I just take like an object and I would just shoot a bunch of man hacks onto it and have it like chase me around and stuff. But I got a lot of mileage out of fucking around in that game and just playing with the physics. I loved like attaching balloons to things. That's like, Gary's Mod is the ultimate just fuck around game, you know? And I certainly love to fuck around, let me tell you. But anyway, yeah, that was kind of what was going on. When I got to high school, I really stopped, like my gaming kind of fell off because I was extremely busy through most of high school. So I went to this nerd school, the STEM school, and so the school was just harder. I had to do more schoolwork. At the same time, I was in a band, and so I had to go to practice and play shows on weekends and stuff like that. And then I was also on a robotics team from freshman year to senior year. It was like FIRST Robotics, and we would build these big fucking robots and shit. And so like, in the off season, I wasn't quite as busy with that, but like in the on season, it was like, we would be meeting up like 5 days a week. So it would be like after school, Monday through Thursday, I'd get Friday off. That's kind of when I'd go hang out with my friends in person. And then on Saturday, we had to go from like 9 to 3:30 a.m., dude. It was brutal. And so like trying to do that while playing shows and doing these, you know, these band things and like yada yada yada. I basically like had no time. And like any time that I'd spend with my friends, it would be in person and we would like go and just fuck around and do other shit, you know, like making bombs and things like that, you know, things that teenage boys would do, you know, or like, you know, going and pranking people and we did a bunch of hijinks, all right? It was a fun time. And so I really stopped playing games for the most part. And that's kind of when I just started kind of more watching like YouTube videos and stuff like that instead, because they would take less time. I didn't have enough time to really get invested in games, you know? And so I just watched more videos because it was just like, okay, I can just kind of chill out. I have like a half hour here before I have to go to fucking band practice, and I just watched some dumb YouTube videos. And so that's kind of when I started switching over from playing games to watching more stuff. And that's kind of been the trend ever since, I would say, you know? And I got into college, it was the same sort of deal. I was like less busy, ironically, in college, but I still had less time overall, you know? And so I basically played one real video game in college, and it was because my girlfriend at the time had shown me the original Flash-based Binding of Isaac, and I really liked that game. I was like, holy shit, this is great. And one of the things that was so appealing about it to me was that there's a lot of variance, a lot of randomization, but also all of the games were like short, you know? You could like bust out a run or two in like a couple hours or whatever, and that's like, okay, I'm done. And I could just hop on the next day, you know, and pick it up from there. And I didn't have to like remember a story or anything like that, you know? And that was a game changer for me. And so I started like, I'd play like The Binding of Isaac so much in college. Like, it's my most played game on Steam by quite a bit. And I just racked up the hours because I got the official, you know, like the Steam version at a certain point. Like, she just gave me The Binding of Isaac on a flash drive, the flash version, and played a good amount of that. I remember I would always play as Kane. It was like, the casino was way more exploitable in the flash-based version, but in any case, got super into The Binding of Isaac. I mean, I think that was legitimately like the only game that I played for my time in college, besides like logic puzzles. Like that's also when I started getting into logic puzzles. So I would do a bunch of Picross and stuff online. So basically, I switched over to board gaming with my friends. If I wanted to play with my friends, we'd play board games. I lived in this house with like a bunch of people and shit. And so we would do that. Would barely ever play video games, and if I did, I'd play The Binding of Isaac, because there's a massive amount of content in that game. And then other than that, I'd play like logic puzzles, all right? And this has kind of been the trend ever since, because I graduated from college, you know, went on this backpacking trip, got back, and that's roughly been what I've been doing, is playing kind of roguelikes, short indie games, and doing a bunch of like Sudoku puzzles. Like my thing now is I do a lot of Sudoku, you know? and I'll play some indie games. Like, I mean, there have been some fun little ones that I've dinked around with. Like, I have fun with, like, Halls of Torment, you know? But, once again, more roguelike games. The only really, like, big narrative kind of AAA game that I've played recently has been Baldur's Gate 3, which was great, by the way. I thought that was an awesome game. So much content. It was kind of a game changer. That one kind of ruined Bethesda games for me forever, except for Morrowind. Morrowind has a special place in my heart, but like, it is so hard. There's no way I could go back and play like fucking Skyrim, dude. I still like some of those Fallout games. I played some of those back in the day, but overall, I mean, just as far as like RPG goes, you know, RPGs go, like Baldur's Gate 3 is incredible. Like, it's crazy to me, and it just feels so much more alive, you know, than like something like Skyrim. Like, I fucking hate Skyrim, dude. Don't even get me started on Skyrim. But I couldn't really go back and play like Oblivion, I don't think, unless I had a bunch of mods, just because it's like, it's just not the way the game is designed. I just don't find it appealing anymore. Like, I don't like games that have a huge like breadth of content with no depth. You know, that's kind of where they squared the circle, I feel like, with Baldur's Gate 3, is it's like there's a ton of content, but it's also very detailed and feels like a lot of care was put into like almost everything. And it's like very responsive to what you're doing in a way that like most other games can't replicate, you know? Of course, there's a lot of jankiness that comes with that with Baldur's Gate 3, you know, but that's going to happen, and I just appreciate the effort put into that game. And so, like, I don't know, I don't feel like I could go and play another big open-world RPG game unless it's, like, at the same level that Baldur's Gate 3 was anymore. Like, unfortunately, I have, like, no interest in any other... I just don't have it in me to play an open-world RPG anymore. Now it's more about roguelikes, short little indie experiences, things like that. And on top of that, I don't know, now, like, I feel like there are a good number of people that watch me play these games, you know, that they got into, like, the buckshot stuff, that I think want to watch me play more games. And it's like, and I kind of thought, I was like, oh shit, that's awesome, like, I would love to just record myself playing games, but like, I'm not as into playing games as much as I thought I was. Like, I was like, oh shit, now I have an excuse to kind of go and play these games. And I'm not as, I don't know, I'm not wired that way anymore for most games. Like, I just don't really want to do it a lot of the time. And I don't really want to, like, force myself to do it. So it's like, it's hard for me to, like, stay on top of, like, playing a game all the way through. It's like something that I'll get a hankering for every once in a while, and then I'll start playing something, and then I'm like, all right, you know, that was fun, and then I stop playing it, I fall off of it, and then, you know, I'm back to square one, you know, and so that's kind of why I tend to stick with, like, roguelikes, is because you just kind of pick them up and pick up where you left off, and then, you know, stop playing for a long time, and you pick it up later, and so that's kind of the more shit that I'm into, and so that's kind of to say that I don't know that I'll be doing all that many, like, Let's Plays anymore. I don't know. I want to do them for, like, specific horror titles that I see that are fun and interesting. I mean, I've tried to, like, kind of start up certain series or whatever. Like, I did this Morrowind one, and I kind of want to follow through on it, but, like, I don't know. I haven't felt motivated to do it. It's not because, like, people weren't watching it as much. I mean, obviously, the things on this channel get lower viewership anyway than the stuff that I put on the main channel. But I don't know, I just haven't been feeling like playing it again for some reason, which is kind of sad to me because I love Morrowind, but I don't know. I'm not trying to force myself to do something I don't want to do, you know? And I've found that kind of now I get more enjoyment out of, like, analyzing a lot of games and talking about games than I do actually playing them, which is an interesting thing. I don't know, like, breaking down the numbers, doing coding projects, like, I get a lot more enjoyment out of that kind of shit than playing a lot of games, you know? And, you know, that'll probably change over time, you know? It's I kind of have, like, like cycles where I'm into gaming and then I'm kind of less into it, you know? But I would say I don't really consider myself a gamer anymore. It's more just kind of like, oh yeah, I occasionally pick it up and play, and you know, I'm more of a I like puzzle games and I like that sort of thing, but I'm not much of a multiplayer sort of dude, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at now. I've probably skipped over a lot of games that were, you know, interesting to me, like obviously, like I left out Fallout. I played a lot of Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas back in the day as well. I'm sure I'm missing a ton of stuff. I played, oh yeah, like for the original Xbox, I played a lot of Knights of the Old Republic at my like uncle's place. I used his Xbox, and that was pretty sick. So anyway, yeah, I don't know, but there's too much to talk about. But kind of the general TLDR, I guess, to sum it up, is kind of like I started off playing a lot of Nintendo games when I was little. I played a lot of games when I was little too, you know, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of them. I continued being like a pretty avid gamer until like high school, and kind of before then I was playing, like right before then I got into like Halo and some more multiplayer shooter games and stuff. Completely ran out of time to play games in high school and then kind of fell out of playing them much at all. And then I stopped playing them pretty much, except for like The Binding of Isaac, until recent years. And then in recent years it's mostly just been kind of like indie games, things I can kind of pick up and put down and, you know, leave for a while and come back to and have a good time. And I don't know, I really like the indie game formula, and that's kind of what I'm into now. But let me know what you guys, you know, are into and that sort of thing down below. You know, how your taste in games has changed over time. If you've had any experiences that are similar to mine, you know, maybe you have a solution to my issue of not being able to stay invested in games. I don't really know if it's much of an issue as much as like, you know, it's not that much of an issue, really, you know? It's like, it's kind of nice not having like when I was a kid, I would absolutely like be dying to play games. It's kind of nice to not have that feeling, but at the same time, I don't know, I feel like I'm missing out on something sometimes, you know, because there are people who have a really good time streaming and showing these games to like people, but I don't know, I'm not as into that as I thought I would be. But anyway, there you go. Let me know what you think, and I'm back from vacation, so hopefully I'll be getting back into making some good gambling vids soon. But until then, take it easy, y'all, and have a good one. Bye-bye.